Oh my gosh, it's vlogging day 410. Don't worry kids, I'm off duty.
It's time to go out to Versailles. I'm going to be out there all day, which is going to be great. What's not going to be great is our subject matter for the day. I've been pushed to talk about this a little bit by a number of people. Rick and Vanessa the other night, and Jenica last night, and a few others along the way. I mean, it's taken me last year to really work up to being truly, like, really sharing what's going on in life. We've already talked about goals and dreams, which was a huge thing for me, like being able to put those out there in front of everybody, you guys, and start talking about what I'm hoping for and dreaming of. Really scary. And what's even scarier is to talk about the process of getting there, especially specifically logistically and with money in mind. Because I've been talking a lot about how stressed I am lately, but I haven't really been maybe I've alluded to it, I haven't really talked about why. And that's largely because I find it to be challenging, but also embarrassing and hard because it's not what I want. It's not where I want to be. Obviously, I'm not where I want to be yet, but on that front, that's a huge vulnerability and it's scary. I don't know, talking about this is really scary. And I know that after I've talked about it, I think I'm gonna feel a lot better. And I think that it's gonna be better for the vlog, for you guys to know exactly where I'm at, because one of the things that people have said they really appreciate about the way that I share, and one of my goals in sharing, is to make a real record of what this is like, of what uprooting my life and moving to France because I want to pursue a dream is like, what taking the risks I took last year as far as starting a tech company and trying to become a professional creative, especially within the realms of writing and video production, what that actually looks like. I think this is the side of things that people either don't see or don't talk about, or maybe I'm the only one who's struggling in this way. But I have a hard time believing that that is the case either. So no further ado, I'm almost late to go to Versailles. Not late yet, almost. We're gonna try and spend the day talking about why I'm stressed out and why it's okay. But also why everything sucks. With this, not everything sucks. It's just this is not easy. One of the It's not like we're taught how to talk about money anyways, so this doesn't make it particularly, I don't even know how appropriate this is. I don't have to go into the specifics about it, but at the same time, I don't think it's fair to you guys for me to be like stressing out and kind of talking about that, but not share specifically why I am. I think I should start off with a little bit of background and a full disclosure. The disclosure being that I'm fully aware that I am in this situation because of decisions that I've made. I think that's obvious, and I'm not trying to shirk that in any way, which is one of the reasons why I don't like talking about it, and I don't really want to ever complain because this is the price you pay if you want to jump off of a ledge and hope that something catches you before you hit the bottom. That's a good sound. Trying to talk in the city, that always works out well. So decisions that I made along those lines were to do things like stop working and put myself full-time into a tech startup that wouldn't go anywhere in the end. And in doing so, not only was I living off and burning through my savings, but I took out a loan in order to finish off my principal investment in the company. So questionable decision number one there. And there were a number of others. I'm aware, fully aware. So that's part of it. The responsibility, I think, is important. And then, taking the risk to come here without being even certain that I could work when I got here. Like, I wasn't sure if I'd be legal to work here. I didn't know anything really about my visa at the time because they didn't tell me anything. I just came at a complete risk. The thing is that I wouldn't change anything of what I did. Well, there are things that I might have changed, but now that I know what I know, but at the same time, that's why we take risks, right? And without those, we're not gonna go anywhere. I'm not gonna go anywhere. So where am I at exactly, and why are things more stressful lately than they were before? Well, the thing is, if you can think about it this way, like when I left Spokane, I was making just enough money to keep myself sinking slowly, right? I had just a little bit of money left. I was just ahead of my bills, yet at the same time, if nothing changed, I was still on a downward trajectory. Like things were still going to come to a head. And I was looking for work. Like I got to that point where I was like, you know what, I'll just take a job. And I started searching, and I was just in a place where I was like, nothing else can go wrong or I am screwed. So I started looking for other work, and I started jumping around. I couldn't find anything. I applied for work in multiple cities across the country and a bunch of different things, blah, 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 whatever. The only work I was able to find was like part-time manual labor, moving couches and things like that, which is probably a good thing in the end, because ultimately, like if I'd settled down into something prematurely, I probably never would have applied for this visa. Or if, yeah, I don't know if I would have taken this risk either. But that's the thing, is when I took this risk, I was guaranteeing that I was like going to bottom out. Like things were going to come very, very close for me, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to work. And even if I was going to be able to work, I figured it would take a little bit of time, and it did. And I think of it in terms of like a bird that's coming in, like pretty much like it's either going to crash or it's going to pull up in time, whether that's water or rocks or whatever. And I was just coming down right there, and right now I feel like my tail feathers are definitely dragging in the water a little bit. And the number one thing that's really changed is just that the tourism industry here has actually slowed down a little bit over August. And we went from a place where I was actually making enough doing the tour guiding stuff to cover my bills, and literally everything that I make doing the tour guiding goes straight to the United States. It's either saved for my taxes here or goes straight to the United States just to pay my bills there. And I was just barely staying ahead of it, like just barely enough. And then we had a reduction in work, and that was over. And within a month, I'm behind. And I've never been behind. And that's something else that I've always prided myself on, is being able to pay my debts. And the fact that I am now having to decide which debts do I pay and which ones do I fall behind on, it's scary for me. And it sucks.
There's only one thing.
Christian brought me coffee. More noises. More loud noises. And obviously cash flow does have a direct impact on everything you do. So like I was trying to say earlier, I've been living off of tips pretty much exclusively. Like it's been a cash only system for a while, which is when things get extra tight, is when you're out. Like when I bought that ticket to Helsinki, I still had enough work. I had some projects coming up, but a lot of those projects have been pushed back. And so that was the debate, do I still go or not? And I had enough saved up in my tips to cover it, but that pretty much wiped me out and added to the stress of being like, oh, and there's also no work. And so that's kind of where that was coming from a little bit. And it puts you in a spot where like today, I haven't eaten yet, and I'm not going to until I get my crepe from Kareem, who pretty much always provides one. So that goes. It's really hard to organize my thoughts on all this. Basically, that's so much where the stress comes from, between like even getting to that point where sometimes you feel guilty for buying food. And I think that's one of the reasons actually that I don't like talking about it, because obviously without a kitchen, it makes it really hard to cook. And so food ends up being where I spend most of my money, which better that than, you know, drugs. But at the same time, I don't know, it can be kind of embarrassing. So I try to stick to cheap stuff. Like today, I'm gonna just get like a demi baguette here in the market. And thankfully Kareem gave me a crepe, and I've got some orange juice. So I'll make it through the day just fine like that. But at the same time, it's like, ugh, I always feel a little bit guilty about it. But like I said, there are projects coming, which is why generally I'm not super stressed out about it. And actually, for the most part, I haven't been stressed out about it. I'm pretty used to living with very little. I've made decisions that have led me to need to live with very little, as far as like moving to a ship off the west coast of Africa, volunteering for a number of years, and now even being here in Paris. Like, I don't have a lot of space. I'm not looking to buy anything. I'm not looking to get anything big. It gets a little bit more stressful when it comes down to like, yeah, not being able to pay bills, and then also knowing that I can't replace anything. Like if this thing dies, I am screwed. Same thing, if my computer dies, I'm done. Like the vlog is over if my computer dies. It's like 3 years old. It's fine, I hope. It's just those little things where it's like, yeah, you're fine. But if anything like that were to happen, like I'd be pretty out of luck pretty much immediately. And so those little things definitely add a significant level of stress. But then there are also the little things on the day-to-day that do as well. But it struck me not so long ago. So this is why it's hard though too, because I grew up fairly poor as well. And I realized at some point that, you know, car commercials, I never paid attention to car commercials because they could never apply to me. Like
ever in a million years, I'm never gonna buy a new car. Like, I'm barely gonna buy a car ever. That actually is applied to me even more so now. So even now, I look at almost anything. Like, I can't purchase anything. So commercials, ads, none of it matters to me, because like I look at like my sheets. Like, I got a hole in my sheets the other day. I love my sheets, they're super comfortable. They're a gift from a friend last time I lived here. My clothes are too big because I lost a bunch of weight, and all these things that I'm not gonna be able to replace them. I can't afford to right now, and that's hard. Not because like I don't care, I don't need stuff, I'm not really worried about that, but it's kind of embarrassing to admit that, to open up about that. And then when I need to replace something, or I don't have enough money to eat, or something like that comes along, then it just, more than anything, it feels embarrassing, and I don't want to talk about it, because nobody wants to talk about money problems, and I'm hopeful that it's going to change. Like I said, I have projects coming up, I have stuff coming up, but it doesn't necessarily make the moment all that much better, if that makes sense. Of course, it's starting to drizzle. I'm just gonna move everybody's stuff under the trees here just a little bit, and then we'll get less rained on at least. So yeah, I think that's kind of the core. I've had a couple of really random, stupid things happen recently that do add to stress here and there, but the ongoing root of it really is just the pressure that comes with things being tight. And again, I'm not looking for pity, and I think that's one of the things that also makes it hard to share about like where you really are struggling and where it's difficult, is because the last thing that I'm looking for is people like, oh, it's not the goal. It's really just that I also feel like it's important to share this. I've gone over a year without sharing this. I've gone for much longer than that. And it's taken me that long to feel like I can say this to you, both internally, and I feel like there are enough people asking about it that want to know about it that it's appropriate to talk about it a little bit. And so my goal is not to whine or complain, but just to clearly express like why I am really stressed out lately. And I've been feeling better. As long as I'm getting good sleep and there is some momentum towards the future, it helps me to overlook the stress of the moment and feel fine for the most part. But it is there, and it does have an effect.
Where does peace go? Where does peace?
I think one of the reasons also that you don't want to talk about it is because you think, I'm going to get through this and then I can talk about it after, right? And that's the same thing when the first time I moved to France. I was struggling really hard to find an apartment, and I held it in for months. And it wasn't until I just, let go and was open about it and told people how much the struggle was real, that things actually even started to change. I'm not superstitious and think that that's how this works kind of a thing, but I do realize there's a freedom that comes with letting go and just owning up to the reality that you're in the moment. Wait for this train too. I don't think that's authentic to wait until you're through something before you share it, seriously. It's like vehicles sitting here, I'm trying to. Cars keep coming by.
Guys, I find if you go straight ahead, that's generally better.
Anyways, I find that to be genuinely kind of inauthentic, to just try to hide your struggles and try to hide what it is you're going through, only so you can be victorious about it in the end. The fact is, maybe I never will be victorious over this. Maybe I'm going to be that starving artist for the rest of my life, which is exactly where I didn't want to end up back when I had a job. I was like, I'm never going back to being a starving artist. And here we are. But at the same time, that's not valuable. That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help me to bottle that up, and it doesn't help anybody on the other side who might be struggling with the same thing to deal with that, or to feel some sense of solidarity with somebody else who's struggling through what I'm struggling through. And I'm sure that somebody out there is struggling through it as well. So yeah, I'm not going to wait till I'm past this. I'm not going to wait till things are great. Yeah, because someday I hope that things really take off and that my own personal economics catch up to a decent standard of living. But in the meantime, I'm where I'm at because I chose to be here. I'm chasing the dreams that I'm chasing and the things that I want to do with my life. These are the sacrifices you have to make ultimately. And so if I'm going to make those sacrifices, I had better share those sacrifices instead of just bottling them up and not being honest about it and not being open about it. And I think that's ultimately why I'm willing to take this step and, I don't know, face I'm fearful. There's a number of things that I'm fearful about in sharing this. But you know what? Fear. You can't let fear dictate your actions. As soon as you do that, it wins. So make your decisions based on the right thing to do in the moment, or something sage like that. You can see which gates get the money and which ones don't.